Adam, it looks like we're going to have something we haven't had in a long time here. We haven't had a chilly Texas Halloween since I can ever remember. Maybe when I was a kid once or twice.
A chilly Halloween. It's about to be cold. It's fucking cold out there right now.
Yeah, it's like 30 degrees outside.
Yeah, it's like insanely cold for Texas. It was all wet and windy today.
When you're a kid growing up in this time of the year, you're contemplating whether or not you either want to wear your Halloween mask because it's going to be so fucking hot inside that thing.
You know, last year my child he was Cuphead. We made a full Cuphead costume for him, and the Cuphead head was hot, so he complained about it being hot the whole time. I remember sweating like a hooker in church last year for Halloween, just dressed in my clown getup. But this year I'm worried that he might be cold. He might be cold in his outfit.
Yeah, it's going to be chilly.
I was sweating.
Now, what is your excuse? Tell the folks at home what your excuse is for not being in the toy lab tonight.
Oh, yeah, the reason I'm not there is because my son, my lovely, amazing, small version of me, happens to procrastinate on things like Halloween costumes. So it's the day before Halloween, and we have had to finish making his costume.
What did we settle on
tonight.
This year?
He's going to be a shy guy, and really, he is the creepiest fucking shy guy I've ever seen. It is amazing. Seeing a shy guy, like, person size, is pretty fucking
Now,
scary.
you're off taking your kid trick-or-treating on Halloween.
Yeah.
Is there anything going on at your apartment? Do you just keep the lights on? How does that work if someone comes by? Do you have one of those baskets that says "Take one, please"?
Nah. I leave the lights off at my house, so we'll have the pumpkin, the Halloween, the jack-o'-lantern out. But my street is not the street they're gonna trick or treat on. They're gonna trick or treat one block over, which is the super fantastic, crazy Halloween fest.
That reminded me of something in my neighborhood I saw recently. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know what it's about, but there's a house that down the street from me that's legitimately has multiple Halloween decorations in it. But there's also a sign that says "No tricks or treats. Be respectful." So they're celebrating it with their decorations, but they're not interested in participating in the trick or treat part of Halloween.
Right. They're like slapping you on the wrist.
I've been trying to rationalize this all week. I'm like, are they out of town, or do they just are they afraid of like the Drac plagues? I don't get it. I don't understand what it's about. Because I understand if you're like some weird fundamentalist type that doesn't celebrate Halloween, you just turn your light off and you don't. You're like, they're like, oh, those people don't celebrate any holidays, so don't go over there. People in the neighborhood knew that. Now it looked like they bought this sign at like Home Depot. I think it's a remnant of the COVID era. It has to be.
They didn't get it at Hobby Lobby, or maybe you're just thinking fucking too much into it, and they're still going to be giving out candy. No,
it says no tricks or treats. Be respectful, and it's like an orange. It looks like an orange candy corn, and I'm just like, why was this made?
I don't know.
What a tease,
I'm interested
right?
To see whether they're giving out candy tomorrow night. That's what I think you should do, Bobby.
I'm definitely going to do some recon.
Door.
It's because it's been driving me. I have to have an answer to this because it's been driving me fucking crazy.
You are a grown-ass man. I think you should definitely go out on Halloween
dressed
night
like a baby,
stalk your neighbor's house. In the 40-degree weather, and just a hard nipple baby, and go bug your neighbors to see whether they're giving out tricks.
I think I got to do foppish dandy this year.
I think you would really pull it off.
Was it last year or the year before I did the giant baby where my wife yelled at me? And then I just need to do like weird eras of that baby's life every year. So I do like foppish dandy next year, and then I do like prep school boy the next year. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you should do that. I think it's a good idea. Do you happen to have like a foppish dandy outfit on hand?
No, I don't have one of those at all. It's not in the trunk in the closet with all the dildos.
Oh, cool. Well, let's say Halloween's tomorrow, so you should be good.
Got to go into the dildo trunk and dig out my foppish dandy costume.
Just make sure you put the dildo somewhere they can't see it in your costume.
Wouldn't that be funny if we sold real estate? We were like, so this compartment over here in the master bedroom closet that's actually built for the dildo trunk. It's a one-size-fits-all compartment in the wall for your dildo trunk.
This is just the dildo closet. It's a whole entire closet. Maybe a dildo trunk fits in there. If you have any extras, any stragglers that won't fit in the trunk, we've got adjustable displays on the wall. You can hang them on.
Well, I think we'll get a cold open out of that somehow. Huh?
There was definitely a cold open there for that. For sure.
All right, enter the show.
Sure.
Thrill me. You know, there's gorillas in these woods.
Mortis? What's that?
It's all in the reflexes.
Chicken's good. I like chicken.
I'd buy that for $1.
In the wind.
Oh, wait. Was she a great big fat person?
I drink your milkshake.
Carpet Day!
You make me want to be a better man.
I'm running this monkey farm now, Frankenstein, and I want to know what the fuck you're doing with my time!
See you at the party, Richter!
You're listening to the Not For Everyone podcast. My name is Snobby Bobby, and live via satellite / some sort of weird astral projection connection here. We have Crude.
It's called Zoom.
We have via Zoom. We have Crude Rude Dude.
The pork chop moon man.
The Halloween harlot. The Halloween harlot, Adam.
Oh, I like that one. That's a new one there.
Yeah.
The lowest common denominator.
Yeah, we don't need to do all the names. We don't have a lot of time. This is a Halloween episode.
Lieutenant of Danger.
Hoping that this will be out on Halloween night. We'll see. Could be more of a Thanksgiving episode.
Halloween!
But it's.
Oh, we have a Thanksgiving episode.
Well, yeah, probably. I mean, it's on the docket, right? We are recording this at the time of the night before Halloween 2023, right?
Mm-hmm. It's like that Christmas story, but the Halloween time.
It's Halloween Eve. Halloween Eve.
I'm feeling very Halloweeny after all the time I spent working on a goddamn kids costume tonight.
This is the holiday that I say, especially now that I'm older, it comes so fast and is completely fucking forgotten about the next day. You know what I mean? Like,
what, Halloween?
Like it's the beginning of the holiday season is Halloween. It comes so fast. You're like, oh my God, tomorrow's already Halloween. Normally I'd be like, growing up, you're like, oh, I gotta figure out what's in a costume and blah, blah, blah. Dude, the time just goes by so fast now. So Halloween kicks off and then boom, right into Thanksgiving season. And no one talks about Halloween anymore, like the next day, right? And there might be some
We live very different
There
lives.
might be some leftover. I'm just
lives.
saying in general, like people just kind of forget about it compared to like, Christmas.
No. See, for me, you're talking about yourself, Bobby. And Bobby speaks for himself on the Not For
I
Everyone
speak for the
podcast.
trees.
The views of Snobby Bobby do not reflect the views of Crude Rude Dude. I think the day after Halloween is the best day because that's the day you go to like the Halloween stores and everything's like 50%
That's
off.
That's
like,
a very
all that
adult
shit.
Rebuttal to my claim.
Oh, dude, if you go 2 days after, everything's like 70% off. But you get a better selection the day right after Halloween. But that also leads right into Day of the Dead, man. This is a great time of the year. This is the holiday season right this second.
That's true. Look around your apartment and tell me how much of the stuff that's in your apartment right now year-round is actually a Halloween decoration.
Oh, I'm just in my room. Let's do this 1, 2, 3.
But are they just like fake cobwebs and like wax lips all over the place?
Giant spiders and framed skulls and little pumpkin
So much
candles.
Chinese lead paint in that room.
Oh yeah, so much. I lick the walls. I'm tripping balls right now. Just from looking
You're
at the
dying
candle
of
I bought from
Halloween
China.
fentanyl overdose.
They put fentanyl in the. You don't need to watch about the candy. It's in the candles.
Yeah, it's
y'all.
everywhere. That shit's everywhere.
Shitty tea lights made of fentanyl.
Fentanyl, Reese's Pieces. It was always a myth about the weird deviant neighbor that put razor blades and poison in Halloween candy, but nowadays we have to worry about the Chinese putting fentanyl in it.
That's the fear. That's the fear they instill on you on the fucking nightly news.
All right. There
you go.
Shout out, trick or
Buy
treat to the
into it, people.
CCP. Be safe out there, kids, and have your parents check your candy for Chinese fentanyl.
I love Halloween.
Halloween's great.
It's
Well,
my favorite time of year.
This year we're doing a theme of, I guess, best of the 90s.
Best of the 90s.
The 90s.
NFE style.
If you say, honestly, I was thinking about this. If you say best of the 90s just in general, not just horror, you're going to hit at least 2 or 3 Sam Neill movies.
Yeah.
Event Horizon, Jurassic Park, and what we're going to be covering tonight, my first love, and I'll explain what I mean by that a little later, In the Mouth of Madness, starring
In the Mouth of
Sam Neill. But it was actually really hard to narrow it down for just a handful of episodes on the best of 90s horror. So I thought this time for our Halloween episode, we do movie recap a little bit different and just do some of our honorable mentions that we, could have listed in this season of 90s spooktacular.
No, absolutely. I would say this. I don't think that this list was hard to do in terms of which movies to pick, because all 4 of these movies that we went with, Event Horizon, People Under the Stairs, In the Mouth of Madness, and Candyman.
Yeah.
Those 4 are all excellent choices, but there's so many more.
I will preface by saying I do not have Nightbreed on my list because we've already covered that movie. Good. Okay, that's
It's
fine.
still on the list.
All right, good. I'm glad I didn't put it too, but that stuff. All right. Why don't we start with Nightbreed?
Start with Nightbreed. So we talked about this movie, Clive Barker's second directorial effort. I mean, I'm not. Another honorable mention to the honorable mentions would have to be Clive Barker's Lord of Illusions, which is another fucking 90s banger. But Nightbreed is just, it's a whole mythos into itself, right? It's its own mythology. It's beautifully shot. It's surreal. It's full of monster people and porcupine tits. It's got David Cronenberg slashing people.
It's more Clive Barker than Hellraiser, I think. Like, just as far as the visuals go and where his imagination can go. And don't get me wrong, Hellraiser is all of those things too. But it just seemed like he had such creative control on Nightbreed.
Yeah.
And then you have all that great, like, I don't even call it, it's not puppets, but it feels like puppets, but it's like good makeup effects and not, you know what I mean? Just creatures. I like creatures, Adam. And I always said that Nightbreed is for someone that loves Hellraiser, but also loves the Mos Eisley Cantina scene from A New Hope. That's what Nightbreed is.
Exactly. And I love that fucking scene. I love Jabba's palace because it's full of these fucking weirdos.
Can we just say,
just like
Nightbreed is one of the great love stories.
Midian.
One of the great love stories of all time.
No. Well, if we're going to talk about that, since we're moving on this list, I'll take it to the next level, which I think is probably the greatest love story ever told. And also one of the best horror movies of the 90s or any age is Bram Stoker's Dracula. Francis Ford Coppola directed Bram Stoker's Dracula. That movie is a straight up classic gothic fucking horror movie. And it really is. I don't know. I've watched a bunch of Hammer recently, and it holds up to it. Like, has that Hammer vibe to it. The way it's all a set, right? The way it's all just in one place. Like, they built everything that you're looking. Like, everything you're looking at in that movie is
real. Yeah.
I don't think there were any. Yeah, there weren't any outdoor sets. Like, they just build the shit. Like, let's build this fucking mountain pass that you're going to ride a horse over. That's all a goddamn soundstage, these giant, massive sound stages. So you just watching that movie, it has such a huge scope to it. But again, because of the time and because Francis Ford Coppola refused to use any CGI for that movie, it's all beautifully done in camera tricks and practical effects. Fucking Dracula, man.
Yeah, that is a long one. It's a dry one, but it looks great.
What are you talking about?
Great,
are you talking shit about Dracula?
It looks great. I love Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather. Yeah, that's a good choice. That's always a solid one. I actually do. I'm just trolling you, Adam. I really like that movie a lot. I like Gary Oldman's one of my favorite actors of all time. I don't know if we've ever talked about that, but I got to go.
We've talked about.
Well, I mean, yeah, we definitely have. I got to go. Can I go? Is it my turn? I got to go with one of my. You might say it's a comedy. I still say it's a horror, though, especially if you saw it at the ripe age of 7 when I did. Jeff Daniels, John Goodman starring Arachnophobia.
Oh, Arachnophobia.
And Arachnophobia has been on my list of movies to cover on the show for years now, and I love it so much for so many reasons. What are your initial thoughts on Arachnophobia?
So my initial thoughts are I want to rewatch it. I haven't seen that since I was a kid, but I fucking loved it.
You would
when
love
I was a
it. We would love it so much, Adam. I can't believe you haven't watched that since you were a kid.
I haven't watched it in years and years and years. And I'm like, damn, I was going to watch it recently. And then for whatever reason, I don't know. I watched fucking.
Here's the premise for people that haven't seen it. A coffin comes back from the Amazon from some explorer that lives in a small town. I don't recall exactly the origin, but a spider, a deadly Amazonian spider crawled in that coffin. It starts to infest this man's and this family's house, and he has a bad spider problem. John Goodman plays the exterminator who works for Bugs Be Gone is the name of his company.
Bugs Be Gone.
And
nice.
The final crescendo of the movie is Jeff Daniels battling in a very aggressive hopping spider in his basement or like woodshed or something like that.
How big was the spider? Like Chihuahua-sized spider?
Yeah, maybe that. Maybe a little smaller.
Okay.
He battles a spider.
But still, just a big.
It's a big spider, but it's not. It's not like the ones from like the radioactive, 1950s spider.
Yeah,
tarantula. It's not like tarantula. But Arachnophobia. That shocks me that you haven't seen it since you were a kid because it's right up there, with the next one I want to talk about. But I'll let you go first.
Well, I will say this. I do want to rewatch Arachnophobia, and it's one I know I want to watch with King, right? So I gotta get
perfect gateway drug for children because that's when I saw it when I was a little kid.
So another one that I want to bring up, just so that we don't all forget about it. I just kind of mentioned it a second ago. This might also be taken as more of a comedy, depending on what age you are when you see it. But even when you're a kid and you see it, it's scary and hilarious. Mm-hmm. And that is the Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward starring fucking Tremors.
That was on my list. That's the one I was just referring to. That if you like Tremors and that tone of scary meets comedy, check out Arachnophobia. But yes, Tremors is on my list as well.
Hell yeah. Well, what do you have to say about Tremors?
Well, Tremors is one of the first times I remember renting, quote unquote, I guess, horror movie and like watching it. Like it's one of my earliest, if you want to call it horror movie memories. Cause I mean, it's pretty scary, but it's not like, it's a monster movie, right? It's not like just fucked up visuals and like cerebral, it's not watching like Seven or something like that.
Ooh, that's a good one. That doesn't count.
That almost made my list too, Seven. But anyway, so I that was my first memories of watching a horror movie, renting it. And I remember my friend, one of the first times someone stayed at my house was my friend Mark. And we slept, he was supposed to sleep over. We watched Tremors and he called his mom at like 2 a.m. to come pick him up.
What a bitch.
And my mom still talks about that. My mom still brings it up. I'm like, will you just let it go? He was a little kid. He's like, I remember when your little friend had to call his mom because you guys watched Tremors.
That shit is hilarious. I'd be laughing about it if I was her too.
My mom's still shaming this little boy that's a grown man now.
Well, she's not doing it to his face, is she? I mean, that would be fucking even funnier.
That is one of the scary things about Tremors. It's like, yeah, you have things like monsters in your closet. You have like, spaceships with aliens from outer space. You have, Draculas and Wolfman. But the idea of like, there's nowhere to hide because they're coming from above or from below. Mm-hmm. They're subterranean sandworms that can just appear anywhere.
What if you were in like an area, right? And it was a Tremors infested area, but everywhere that you went for high ground was infested with arachnophobia spiders. You'd really be fucked then.
I would just be real still in the Tremors world, I think.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Tremors are like insta-death.
I'm going to have that nightmare tonight, and I'm going to have you to thank for it. So
you're welcome.
Put that into the universe.
All right, moving on.
My next one's going to be this is not a horror movie, but it is the scariest shit still to this day. And that would be 5 Fire in the Sky.
Oh yeah, okay.
Fire in the Sky is the story of Travis Walton, based on a true story about an alien abduction. You know what? It is scary. It is. I consider it a horror movie because I've never been more horrified by anything in my whole life, and it is what it is.
If Event Horizon's a horror movie, that's gotta be.
Yeah, but it's not like beat for beat. Like we need a scare. We haven't done that in a while, but it's like there's just so many sequences in it that are fucking burned into my brain. The famous one is it is easily the scariest abduction scene in any movie ever. I was at the ripe age of like 8 when I saw it. I went through a very traumatic time where all I was doing was reading about UFOs, but at the same time, I couldn't be more horrified of them. But it was like this weird abusive relationship.
And look where you are today.
Look where I am today in the toy lab on the Not For Everyone podcast. But he just wakes up in this weird fleshy bubble pod. And he sees his motorcycle keys floating outside of it. And he rips into it. He's this giant crevice of fleshy bubble floating around. And then he gets picked up by those weird creatures with the creepy eyes that they kind of look like Joe Biden.
It's very unsettling.
Yeah, and then they stick that thing in his eye, which, by the way, is nothing like the real story, but it's got some effective fucking Hollywood at the same time.
Yeah, they made it into a horror movie, so fuck yeah, it's got shit going in your eye.
And then the other thing that is burned into my brain is whenever they go rescue him at the rest stop, and there's like these 3 little greasy prints in the window that look like alien fingerprints, and they're like dripping with dew, dripping with dew at him.
Yeah,
alien dew.
That's fucking scary shit, Bobby.
Yeah, Fire in the Sky just had such a profound impact on me, and as far as a horror experience goes, and I still think it's a really good movie too. Aside from all that,
great. Are you done? You moving on?
It has Robert Patrick in it, Adam.
It's got Bobby Patrick. You might remember him from the T-1000 from Terminator 2. So I watched a movie that might not, there might be some argument with this one. I don't know about you. I don't know if you'll argue it.
I'm not here to argue. We don't argue.
I don't know if you've even seen it, Bobby, to be 100% honest. But this one had a big impact on me as a youngster, right? Because when I was a kid, my brother had like horror movie posters on his wall, my older brother. So I know he had like the Howling 3. I think
they were above his dildo trunk.
Maybe. I don't know what was in the trunk. I never opened the trunk. But
dildos.
There was one that he had on his wall that was just the colors, the presentation of it. It always just seemed fucking creepy to me. And I ended up watching that movie very soon after because I had to because of the poster. And it was 1990s, Tom Savini directed Night of the Living Dead. Now, I saw this movie before I saw the original Night of the Living Dead. Have you seen the Savini remake, Bobby?
Of course.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we talk about remakes ad nauseum. We talk about The Blob, The Thing, The Fly, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But I don't know if I would rank the Tom Savini Night of the Living Dead with those as movies, but it's one of the great remakes, I think. And
it's
the story
fucking awesome.
And I want to say they remade it strictly to try to get the rights back to Night of the Living Dead. It wasn't even supposed to be, it didn't need to be as good as it was, but it was. Right. It's Tom fucking Savini.
Well, it's Tom fucking Savini. I mean, Romero was involved in it. The cast, man, the fucking cast is, in case you've forgotten, it starts off with fucking Bill Moseley saying, "They're coming to get you, Barbara," which is fucking, it's Bill fucking Moseley, Chop Top, right? And then the main character in this movie is goddamn Tony Todd. It's Candyman as the main guy. You got Tom Towles from Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. I mean, there's a lot of recognizable faces. So I love the original Night of the Living Dead. It's probably my favorite movie ever. It's all the ending, right? Like everybody dies, and it's just so beautiful how everybody dies. It's great. But I'll say this, in the remake, they changed it up. I mean, it's really pretty much beat for beat, except they changed the character of Barbara.
Yeah, but don't don't spoil the ending.
Why not? Haven't they seen this movie? I mean, can I spoil The Crow right now? Is that okay?
I don't care.
At this point, why should you?
I've never seen The Crow, Adam.
All I'm saying is I'm not spoiling anything. I'm just saying they changed the character of Barbara and really made her into a badass. And it was great. I mean, like early 90s, they give it a strong female lead. Tony Todd's still a fucking awesome has been, I would highly recommend. It's streaming. I think it's on one of the services now, and it hasn't been easy to stream for a while. So I highly recommend everybody go out and watch that Tom Savini Night of the Living Dead. There.
Oh, all right. All
There.
right. Well,
That's a movie recap.
My fourth one is going to be one Tim Robbins starring Jacob's Ladder.
Yep. I see that.
Jacob's Ladder has some scary ass visuals, but I like how it's not what you think. I actually will not spoil this because a lot of people haven't seen it, and it's actually not what you think.
Right.
It's not, you know what I mean? But it's just about a man who's a veteran, came back from Vietnam a few years later, and he just starts to kind of hallucinate and go fucking
He's
crazy.
seeing fucking demons.
Yeah. On the subway, at parties, like
everywhere.
He doesn't know what. Like he just comes back. It's like this severe PTSD case or something supernatural, or like we don't. But that's all I'm going to say. It's very, very grim. There's really no funny parts to it. It's just
No,
a very.
It's not.
It's like if the Deer Hunter was a horror movie.
Right.
Go watch Jacob's Ladder if you've not seen it.
No.
And it has some great Vietnam flashback scenes
It's
too. Some
way
really well
better.
done.
It's way fucking better than the Deer Hunter.
Okay, let's
way better than.
What do you think about Jacob's Ladder with Tim Robbins without spoiling it, Adam?
No, I love it. It's great. I mean, it's a terrifying experience. I mean, some would say it's a thriller more than it is a horror movie, but does have heavily supernatural things going on. You know, visuals and what's happening in the movie. It's fucked up. It's not happy. It's so bleak. It's
there to scare you. That movie's there to scare you, and it's there to make you think.
And
I like when it can scare you and make you think, like Friday the 13th, Jason Lives.
Exactly. So yes, watch Jacob's Ladder. Now streaming on something. So, okay, how many more do you got, Bobby?
I got one more.
Okay, I have one more, and then we'll rattle off a couple that we didn't mention. But I'm going to go with the black horse here, one that I know you'll probably argue or just have
a dark horse?
A black horse. A dark.
Okay.
Dark.
Like
it's a horse. It's a horse of a different color. Okay,
of
and that
course.
color is black. So we're going with the dark horse here. You're probably gonna have just no interest in it whatsoever. 1999, the end of the 90s, and we got to see a director who had made very fun, lighthearted, weird experiences in cinema. Finally, tried his hand at horror. Mr. Tim Burton directed the amazing gothic film Sleepy Hollow. Fucking Sleepy Hollow. Have you seen Sleepy Hollow, Bobby?
Adam, I can't see you right now, but I imagine you have a nice big pair of pale titties out.
Just huge pale
You got
ones.
some solid Hot Topic cleavage going on over there.
I love me some hot goths. I love a blonde hot goth Christina Ricci in like Victorian wear. But no, beyond all that.
She is like uniquely amazing, beautiful looking.
Oh,
woman.
she absolutely is. She's ravishing in everything.
She's
ever
not
been.
Conventional looking. She doesn't look, traditional, but she's really hot. She's like got her own
I
thing.
like that better than the traditional look.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and I mean, it makes sense to have Christina Ricci. And this is Tim Burton finally working with Christina. I mean, she was Wednesday, and like he's already had Winona and all the other little goth girls. In
she could have been Marla Singer, I think, but I like what's her name too.
I like what's her
Helena
face?
Bonham Carter.
Oh yeah, I always had a thing for broads that look like her. So Sleepy Hollow, what it's
You
about?
always had a thing for crack whores that can't stop smoking cigarettes.
Meet them at meetings. Yeah. So, anyways, Sleepy Hollow. What was I talking about? Great movie. It is Tim Burton's love letter to Hammer films, right? To the Hammer horror of the 70s and 60s and 50s.
Is that your interpretation, or is he on record saying that?
No, I mean, that's a pretty fair assessment. If you fucking watched it, you'd know.
It could just be like Victorian era. It could have been
no. It's
a period piece. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna confess to you, Adam. I've never seen this movie.
Right, and I've seen it like 15 fucking times. No, Sleepy Hollow is amazing. It has got all the beautiful gore. It's got the whole attitude of the 90s, of Tim Burton in the 90s. And this was really like his last great movie before he totally embraced CGI,
Well, was this before or after Big Fish?
This is before Big Fish.
I think, okay. I guess Big Fish was like his last respectable movie.
I mean, I don't know. Let's look at old.
I don't want to talk about Tim Burton. I don't want to. It's like saying let's talk about the Beatles. I don't care. Who cares?
I'm trying to talk about a fucking movie that I think is one of the best movies of the '90s. That you won't even fucking.
No. I want you to talk about the movie. I want you to talk about the movie. I don't want you to talk about Tim. I don't want to do a Tim Burton retrospect for 2 episodes in a row.
So you've got a great horror slasher in this movie. It's a slasher movie, right? And the slasher is the fucking headless horseman. Now, the headless horseman in the several scenes that you see the head on the horseman is played by Christopher Walken with his teeth like sharpened into points, right? And so there's a headless horseman running around the town of Sleepy Hollow, just icing motherfuckers, cutting their heads off, cutting kids' heads off. You see Martin Landau gets beheaded in like the first fucking scene, and there's a lot of really good beheadings in it. On top of that, all the cast that are involved are memorable characters. You've got Rico from Starship Troopers is in it, right? You've got fucking Christopher Lee. You've got Michael Gow, who played fucking Alfred in Batman. Apparently, he was also a Hammer guy. It's got Jeffrey Jones, who is the pedo from Beetlejuice. It has the Emperor. So
there's definitely a Hammer. There's definitely a Hammer thing going on here.
Ian McDiarmid is in it, the guy who plays fucking the Emperor, right? The cast is amazing. It's a great mystery little horror story. Does not let up on the gore. I mean, it fucking delivers on the gore too. So I think that's the one that I would have the least amount of agreement from the NFE fans out there. But Sleepy Hollow is the fucking shit.
That's a very revered movie from a lot of people.
Yeah, it should.
I don't think anyone hates it. I mean, I'm just saying I've never seen it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying is you should fucking see it, Bobby.
Should I watch that or The Crow first?
Because this is on the list we just went over.
All right,
and you're never going to watch The Crow now.
Well, that is yeah, kind of. I'll watch Crow City of Angels.
Fucking
it's like for the longest time I'd only seen Red Sonja. I'd never seen the original Conan.
I know, you moron. When you fucking watch that, damn, that was badass.
You're like, yo, Red Sonja was $5 in the Walmart bin. I'll check it out, but I'd never seen Conan.
Christ.
Conan's a great movie now, and I've seen it. But
no, it was always a great movie. But it was always a fucking great movie, Bobby.
No, now that I've acknowledged that it is. Adam, Sleepy Hollow does sound like a hell of a cast. The cast alone makes it worth.
You'd love it. You would fucking love it. I know you would.
I think I would. But I want to read you off this cast and see if you can see where I'm going with this. Okay. We're talking Bruce Campbell,
Army of Darkness,
Tim Curry, Ernie Hudson,
Army of Darkness,
Joe Don Baker. Ernie Hudson was not in. Tim Curry was not in Army of Darkness. Joe Don Baker, Laura Lindley, Dylan Walsh, Grant Heslov. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
Mars Attacks? What the fuck are you talking about?
This movie is 1995's Michael Crichton written Congo.
Fucking Congo?
One of the great horror movies of the 1990s.
That movie's
Congo.
So fucking dumb, dude. Are you serious? You put Congo on this list.
Amy, good gorilla. Amy, horny gorilla.
Is that an actual line from
Put
Congo?
down my sesame seed. He's like African. He's not Austrian. He's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. But
I mean, we like totally left out Silence of the Lambs and Army of Darkness.
Yeah. This isn't that
Dead
fucking
Alive.
show. Yeah, Dead Alive. The Congo. That's a hell of a movie, isn't it, Adam? Don't you love Congo?
I saw Congo once in the theater, and the reason I went to go see Congo was because it had Bruce Campbell in it, and then they killed Bruce Campbell in the first scene.
It's about magic crystals that make laser guns protected by white gorillas. Tell me that's not awesome.
That's what it's about?
Yeah.
I really haven't watched Congo.
No, it's not a good movie. It's not a good movie. I just thought it'd be fun to talk about Congo. That's a hell of a cast. Huh?
That's a hell of a cast.
It's a good cast for what a dry heave of a movie Congo is. Those big scary white gorillas are pretty frightening, though.
I mean, they had Joe Don Baker. Did he play the gorilla?
No. He played like the corporate-y in like military industrial complex guy that wants them to go.
Right.
They're like, we got to go find you. Like, we got to go find your son who was killed. And he's like, no, just get me the laser crystals. And there's a scene with a hippopotamus. It's like a great action adventure from the 90s, and as not great as it is, if it was strictly about like a ragtag group of rescue missioners in a cave of ruins being attacked by white evil gorillas, if that was like 80% of the movie, this movie would be fucking incredible. But unfortunately, that's like the last 10 minutes of it.
Oh, that's it. Oh, wow. No. So the only thing I really know about Congo, my big experience with Congo, I was never good at pinball. You know, like the pinball, the arcade machine type game. Never good at it.
A pinball machine.
Pinball machine. Yeah, I was never good at pinball machines. And I went to my buddy's house. This dude Joey. I went there with my buddy Ruben, right? And so Joey had like 8 pinball machines in his house.
That's awesome.
So we just got like really fucking stoned. And I played that Congo machine for like it felt like 4 days. Like, I don't know, it might have been like an hour or two. And as I was playing that Congo pinball, I got it. Like, I got pinball. I figured it out. I wouldn't say I'm no pinball wizard. I ain't Tommy or nothing, but like, I can
That's a good thing you can see and hear.
Yeah, thank God. But I could put in a couple quarters and actually play for a while on pinball thanks to Congo. So it didn't have Bruce Campbell. I didn't see the Laser Monkeys, I guess. I missed that.
Well, if there's one thing we could say of 1995's Congo, it made Crude Rude Dude appreciate the game of pinball.
Thanks, Congo. Thanks for
That's
that.
funny, too, because the Elvira pinball machine made me start to appreciate breasts. Big, pale, gothic cleavage. All right, real quick, rattle off the other ones that come to mind. I say 7.
7. I mean, I guess it could pass. More than Congo. More so than Congo, for sure.
Brain Scan.
Brain Scan? No.
What's the one we've covered
Dead
before?
Alive.
Dead Alive.
For sure. Silence of the Lambs, for sure.
Popcorn,
for sure. Army of Darkness.
Popcorn's a great Halloween movie. Army of Darkness.
New Nightmare. New Nightmare's good. Wes Craven's New Nightmare, but it's not as good as a bunch of other Freddy stuff. It's not the best Freddy.
Freddy is Dead is not good.
No, I said New Nightmare.
I know.
Freddy's Dead's not good either.
No, and that's, speaking of In the Mouth of Madness, we'll talk about that in a second. Popcorn, Ghost of Mars. Now that was a little late. Was that a little later?
That was later.
No, that was Ghost of Mars was the movie that started 9/11, right? Ghost of Mars is responsible for the attack at the World Trade Center.
Fully responsible for the 9/11 attack on U.S. soil.
So Ghost of Mars does account. John Carpenter's Vampires. You hate that movie.
You
hate that movie.
It's bad. It's just bad. It's a bad movie.
All right, you got anything else that comes to mind?
No. I mean that's, if anybody else.
I'm sure we're missing something.
The fucking Crow. I mean, there's
what year was Deep Rising? Deep Rising's kind of fun.
I mean, now we're just naming movies that we know from the 90s. I mean,
that was 98. Treat Williams, Deep Rising. That's fucking solid, bro. It's about a giant sea monster.
Right. Yeah,
and that was movie recap.
The best of the 90s edition on NFE.
Hey folks, if you're like me and you explore the vast expanse of the unknown, whether that's interdimensional or paranormal, whether it's cryptid or alien, or if you're just an average Joe, working man or woman, you know what you need? You need a good cup of coffee to get you through the day. There is no way to get through these work weeks, through these long and strenuous months without a good cup of Joe. And do you guys need to check out Fox and Sons. Now, you've heard Bobby and Adam talk about it, but you haven't heard your old pal Rex talk about Fox and Sons yet. And here I am to tell you that there are some amazing flavors. There's the Brazil Honey Prep Whole Bean, which is perfect when you have to deal with the Curupira from Brazil. That's a Brazilian cryptid. There's also the Tanzania Peaberry Whole Bean, and that is perfect for handling the Agagwe, which is a Tanzanian cryptid. And then the Ethiopian Natural Whole Bean, perfect for staving off the attacks of the Wobo, which is an Ethiopian cryptid. Folks, I'm not just here to teach you about cryptids, I'm here to teach you about the perfect blends of coffee, and it is made by this amazing company, Fox and Sons. Your money is going to this family-owned and operated business They have bundles, they have subscriptions, they have light and dark roasts, they have everything an active coffee drinker or cryptid hunter could ever want. Go to foxandsons.com. You can use promo code NFE for 15% off of orders over $30. $30, you could easily spend $30 by just bulking up and getting as much coffee as you can. Perfect gift for the holidays. We got Christmas and Hanukkah and winter solstice holidays coming around the corner. Perfect time to buy, whether for yourself or for a loved one, a delicious blend of coffee from Fox & Sons. Head to foxandsons.com and enter NFE in checkout. And stay alert.
I'm very, very excited to get into tonight's main event, Adam, right? Whenever we had the idea to cover the 90s this year for Halloween, this was like going to be the main event. We didn't even have to tell each other.
It is. It fits
Like,
the bill.
this was going to be the Halloween episode. This is the one.
It fits the fucking bill.
And I want to say this is not our first John Carpenter movie, but it's one of
Nor
our
our
first
last.
like beloved John Carpenter movies. We won't talk about debate.
I
now.
think like if we ever finish, I don't think this podcast is ever going to end unless we've done all of John Carpenter's movies. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Maybe.
I don't know. Let's do them all like next week.
There's just so many. There's just so many like horror podcasts and YouTube videos about people just jerking off to The Thing and Big Trouble Little China. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I mean, we jerk off to The Thing
but,
and Big Trouble Little China like nightly.
Yeah, no, of course. But like, I don't know. I like to do little deeper cuts usually on the show. That's not to say we're ever closed off to doing that stuff.
You do.
But speaking of deep cuts, this is a pretty divisive John Carpenter movie, In the Mouth of Madness.
In the Mouth of Madness. I don't see how it's divisive. I've never met a horror fan that was like, nah, I don't like In the Mouth of Madness. It's dumb. I've never met anybody that's seen this movie and didn't think it was a fucking banger.
It is a banger. It's definitely a banger.
It is a fucking banger. 100%.
Well, it didn't do very well at the box office.
Well, which of the movies we like do make money at the bottom? People Under the Stairs?
That's true. Well, no, I mean, even for a John Carpenter movie, it didn't do very well. And this is, I know you don't like the whole thing about the Apocalypse trilogy, but all of those Apocalypse trilogy movies of John Carpenter, so The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and now In the Mouth of Madness, none of them did well at the box office. But then they kind of grew
two of them were good.
No, all three of them are fucking awesome, Adam. I'm not having this conversation again.
No, you brought it up. Nobody wants to talk about fucking Prince of Darkness, Bobby.
No, I'm just bringing up the pattern in the Apocalypse trilogy is not great initial public reception or critical.
Listen, can I just be like an Apocalypse trilogy denier and say that that's not even a thing?
Of course it is.
And I don't believe it's a thing. It's not a thing at all. Those movies were not made to be connected in any way, shape, or form. He just like decided to say, oh yeah, that's what they are later.
All three of them are about like the end of the world and the end of humanity. That's why it's called that.
We don't know that the Thing get away. We don't know that the fucking the lava lamp of Satan fucking took over the world.
You have the outsider threat of space aliens, then you have the like spiritual threat of Prince of Darkness, and then you have like the
extra dimensional
but it's within the Mouth of Madness. It's still like the creations of humanity, like fictional narratives and things like that, driving people insane. The more secular, tangible destruction of humanity is in the Mouth of Madness.
Any comparisons, and let's just talk about the masterpiece that is In the Mouth of Madness. It's a good fucking movie. I mean,
do you want to read the IMDb, or are we just going to keep talking about it?
Oh, I'm supposed to do that, right?
Yeah, you're not in the studio one night and you forget your job.
An insurance investigator begins discovering that the impact a horror writer's books have on his fans is more than inspirational.
Can you do that voice and say, do you read Sutter Kane?
Do you read Sutter Kane?
This one will drive you absolutely mad.
The riots began because the stores could not meet the demands of Sutter Kane's novel, In the Mouth of Madness.
Kane disappeared 2 months ago without a trace.
He's the guy that writes horror books.
You can forget about Stephen King. Kane outsells them all. I need to know if he's alive or dead, and I need that book.
It's a setup. I just have to work out how it's set up.
Kane's writing has been known to have an effect on his readers.
See this? It's a map. This whole thing has been staged.
You just get out.
This is not reality.
It's all happening for real, Trent.
I know this book will drive people crazy.
Let's hope so. The movie comes out next month.
1994's John Carpenter directed last great John Carpenter romp, In the Mouth of Madness. Adam, what is your personal relationship with this film?
Well, I just say this. I've watched this movie a lot. This is one of the movies that I own on my Amazon account that I bought years ago because it wasn't streaming. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to want to watch In the Mouth of Madness like again and again and again. Mm-hmm. So I just spent the $8-9, whatever it was. And so I have this streaming digitally at all times. But I watched it like a couple days ago, because I knew we were doing it for the podcast. I mean, I've watched all the movies I was talking about and the best of. I've watched all those the last week.
How often do you think you watch In the Mouth of Madness?
It's at least once a year. At least once a year. For the past like 6-7 years, it's been at least once a year.
I'll do it at least once a year around Halloween, and then maybe one other time throughout the year. But that said, In the Mouth of Madness is probably one of my most frequently watched movies, just in general.
It's one of the ones I'll put on if I just want to have a movie on that I've seen 1,000 times so I can go to sleep. I'll put In the Mouth of Madness on. And maybe it's weird that I want to go to sleep with like a movie about nightmare creatures from beyond, but I think I sleep well with that in the background.
As many times as I've seen it, there's never been a point where I throw it on and be like, man, I'm kind of bored of this movie. I've seen it so many times. I'm going to watch something else. That's never once happened.
And if it's ever on, like in the middle, you're just going to watch from right there. It's fine.
I mentioned earlier, I consider In the Mouth of Madness my first love. And what I mean by that is I actually didn't grow up watching, like when I was really, really little, I didn't see a lot of horror because I did watch it when I was really young, way too young, and I was scared of it, right? So like I saw The Shining way too young, and I saw, even stuff like Jaws, or like even, I don't know, I didn't like horror as I like could, until I was like old enough not to be scared by it, right?
Right.
And this is one of the ones that opened the gate for me because some girl I was hanging out with, like her mom happened to rent it, and she was like, I ran into these weird dudes at the movie place, and they were like, oh, you got to watch this one. You got to rent this one if you got teenage kids at home. Me and my buddies get together and drink beer and watch it all the time. And it's an amazing film. It's like our favorite, friendship movie. And I was thinking, like, if those guys had never told my friend's mom that, like, I would be we wouldn't have Not For Everyone podcast.
So some assholes told somebody to show it to their teenage kids?
And I was one of the teenage kids. And I watched it. I'm like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. It's easy to say that about this movie.
And if those guys are listening right now, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I think their names were Bulk and Skull. I like to refer to them as Bulk and Skull.
Now I doubt the validity of the story entirely.
No, I don't know their names.
Oh,
but
okay.
I just strictly remember like the woman telling me that some weird dudes, the Blockbuster, really, really, really pushed this on.
Really pushed this one. This is the one you got to show your teenage kids.
And they're doing God's work. But Adam, let's close the dildo trunk for a second and stop, just vaguely praising this film. Tell me, what is 1994's In the Mouth of Madness about?
So it's about this psycho ward, right? And in the psycho ward, the guy who's running the place, you might recognize him. It's a little gentleman by the name of John Glover. You know him. He's like that red-haired guy. He looks kind of like Richard Atherton from Ghostbusters, but it's not him, you know? It's the guy that
he was in
like
Gremlins
him.
too.
Yes, he was the guy who ran the corporation in Gremlins 2. And when you're watching Gremlins 2, you're like, is that guy from Ghostbusters? No, it's not. It's the other red-haired asshole from the time. So he's
it's not Walter Peck from Ghostbusters.
No, but those two, they favor each other. You know, they favor each
Vigo
other.
the Carpathian from Ghostbusters 2 is in this. Now, we'll talk about that in a second. But John Glover, I always thought, I've told you this before, I always thought he would play, if they were to make remember Arcade from the X-Men in the 90s?
Yes,
he would be an awesome Arcade.
He would be excellent as Arcade.
Who would play Longshot, Adam?
Oh, Longshot. That'd be great. Well, if you're going to do John Glover, you have to get somebody blonde from the 80s or 90s to do it. So I'd say...
I'm thinking Sean Patrick Flannery.
Yeah, no, I'm saying more
as
Swayze.
Longshot.
I think Swayze would be a good Longshot. I'd like to see Patrick Swayze as Longshot.
Wasn't Longshot Irish, though?
No, he was from another planet. He's another dimension. He was multidimensional.
Who's the Irish guy?
That was Banshee. No, Longshot was the one that
had like the power of luck and shit.
Yeah, he was like the guy that would like touch Goldie Hawn on the face, and then Kurt Russell showed up. That was Longshot.
Right.
He was he was extra dimensional. He came from Mojo World, dude. He was from the Mojoverse.
I think that you would play a mean Mojo, and I think Danny DeVito would play a mean Mojo.
Oh yeah, Danny DeVito is Mojo. That'd be good. I want him to use like a CGI of Patrick Swayze's corpse as Longshot in the MCU moving forward. I think that would be fucking great. And Danny DeVito is Mojo.
1994's In the Mouth of Madness stars the great John Glover as the first opening character in this movie. One of the first people you see.
He's running the psycho ward, and they're dragging in Dr. Alan Grant, and he's all pissed off and screaming, "I'm not crazy, you're fucking crazy." And then they get him, and they're grabbing him. The orderlies, big, bulky orderly men are grabbing him, and he kicks one in the balls, just slam, wham, bam, right in the nutsack.
You know why I love Sam Neill as John Trent, the protagonist in this movie? Is
John Trent.
This is the year after he made millions and millions of dollars being in Jurassic Park. But apparently John Carpenter and him like just get along swimmingly, and they love working together. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll be in this fucking awesome John Carpenter movie."
He was in Memoirs of an Invisible Man for John.
Yes,
Carpenter.
he was in Memoirs of an Invisible Man, and apparently Sam Neill read this script and kind of thought it was a comedy. I mean, there's the whole like "sorry about the balls" line.
Sorry about the balls.
No, not the Carpenters. But my theory is that Sam Neill, those are the two, like, I guess, two of the most resonating comedic moments in the movie is the "sorry about the balls" line, and then the Carpenters play when they put him in the cell, the padded cell. And I think that Sam Neill just read like the first 6 pages of the script and was like, you know what, it's John Carpenter, I'm in. Like, he didn't even finish reading the script before. This is just a speculation.
No, okay, so think about this. Let's just talk about the art of acting, right? So the character that he plays in Event Horizon isn't as snarky and sarcastic. Like John Trent, he's got a sense of humor, right? And
he's a cynic.
Definitely a cynic.
He's almost like a George Carlin character. Like he's always saying things like, "The sooner we're off this planet, the better," and all that kind of stuff.
So, but he's got a snarky sense of humor to him. You know, he's more Alan Grant than Dr. Weir. From you know what I'm saying, but the way he plays it, the whole movie is like this lack of belief. Like he takes it all as it's all bullshit. He just thinks it's all bullshit, you know. And then the irony of what really is going on and how much of it is all bullshit. It's what's beautiful about this movie.
Right.
So he's being locked away. He gets locked away. He kicks the guy in the balls. Best line in the movie. "Sorry about the balls." And then things start going wonky, right? Like he starts hearing noises. Somebody's knocking on the window. It's getting all freaked out. Very tense, very high energy.
So I want to use this as an opportunity, because now is as good a time as ever to just mention. I use the term monster mash, right? What I mean by that is it's like kind of like Spookies, or there's a lot of other different movies where it's just different types of monsters.
This isn't a monster mash.
Nightbreed would. It's not a monster mash.
Not a monster mash.
Can I finish, please?
Sure, go ahead. I'm just telling you you're wrong before you're done with your statement, but go ahead.
Now, this isn't a monster mash, okay, Adam? This isn't a monster mash. But what it is it's like a very... there's like a diverse amount of visual scares. It's not just a vampire movie, or not just an evil child movie, or not just, a supernatural thriller, or, you know what I mean? It's got everything. So we start off, not everything, but it has like a very diverse cast of scares, right? We start off with the first one that comes to mind on my list is Creepy Knocking Hand.
Yeah. It's got the creepy knock. So what you're saying is it's a monster mash of different types of scares and scare.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not a monster mash because it's not literally. Well, there are different monsters in it, but monsters are just part of it. There's so many. It's just visually. There's so many different things that catch you off guard in this movie, and I just want to make sure we point them out as we go along because it's not just one thing. It's just disturbing on multiple levels for multiple reasons from multiple directions.
Yeah, it really does cover a lot of the bases in terms of shit that'll just make your skin crawl,
Yeah. So first we have creepy knocking hand. Mm-hmm. Creepy knocking hand. He's going insane. You have all those like flash cut little
snippets of hell.
A lot of foreshadowing in those snippets, right? Like you see scenes that happen later on in the movie when he starts to go crazy and remembering the things he just experienced. And at the time when you first watch it, you're seeing these things flash in his brain and flash on the screen. And you're like, oh, these are just spooky visuals, right? Like, you don't put it together like, oh, well, this is what the movie is about, is everything that, we're going to see more of what this guy is seeing, right?
Right. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. It is a movie that once you see it it deserves a second watch. Like In the Mouth of Madness.
Oh, it deserves multiple watches.
Yeah, because once you know what's going on, you watch it, it makes even more sense. The great David Warner shows up. So this is just him in a hospital bugging out. And then you got David Warner. You got fucking Tron. You got Mr. Got Beheaded, and the Omen shows up as a doctor. And
you're that TGRI guy.
They go into the room. In the room that Sam Neill's in is covered top to bottom in crosses. And John Glover.
He asked for a single black crayon.
A single black crayon. Now, King pointed this out. He's like, how did he do all that with one crayon?
How did he do it to his face?
How did you put crayon on your face like that? That's right. You can't really do that.
I guess you have to be that insane to put that level of pain and pressure into your face to get crayon to draw weird crosses all over yourself. Do you think they give insane people crayons? Is that like safe?
Yeah,
I guess they're pretty harmless.
They're edible too. It's fine. But here's what David Warner's proposing. He's a psychiatrist. He's like, oh, nice touch with the crosses. It'd make them, they see this, they're definitely going to want to keep you in here. So he's calling bullshit on John Trent. He's saying, are you even really crazy? Or are you just saying you are to stay in here? Because it seems like you didn't want to stay here and now you changed your mind. And now
there's a orderly with some swollen balls that swears you want it out of here or something like that.
So what's happening is the whole world is going crazy. It's like an epidemic. It's an epidemic of madness. It's like everybody's out there going nuts, hacking each other up and stuff. So once that all started happening, he went crazy and went in the loony bin. But now he's like, I want to stay in this fucking loony bin. And that's what he's asking David Warner about. What David Warner's asking. He wants to tell a story. He wants to hear the story of what led John Trent, Alan Grant, Peter Weir into the mouth of madness.
Right. Well, and then and apparently editing was a big deal on this show because people were, I guess, confused by the flashbacks and stuff. Eventually, it does flash back and he starts to tell a story. There's no voiceover or anything. It's just like implied, right?
Well, okay. This movie employs flashbacks. And then John Carpenter did this again later on in the famous lost episode of the Not For Everyone podcast, It Goes to Mars, with the bullshit flashbacks. I mean, like, he covers the bases of how to do it and how not to do it. Because I don't feel like this movie's confusing. Like, you just got to get that, okay, this is happening at the end.
I'm just saying the first cuts of it were notoriously like they had to go back and recut it because people were like confused by it, which sounds like they didn't put that much effort in Ghost of Mars because all that movie is flashbacks and like dialogue exposition.
Fucking Scooby-Doo wipes. Here's an interesting little factoid. The beginning music is this awesome John Carpenter pinned rockin' ass movie intro, as he does in his movies. I read that he wanted to use Inner Sandman by Metallica, but couldn't get the rights. So he made his own intro that kind of sounds like Inner Sandman.
That wouldn't surprise me if that were true, but I'd also am like, if that like just like snowballed into that, I could see him saying something like, I want like kind of a heavy metal Inner Sandman type sounding sound. But you're saying that he tried to actually get the rights.
That's what I heard. That's what I read. That's what Wikipedia or some shit said that. So he wanted the rights, but he didn't. So he just made his own. But I mean, but when you think about that, like John Carpenter typically does just make his own music.
That's this is easily one of my favorite opener, or one of my favorite John Carpenter tracks is In the Mouth of Madness.
Fuck yeah, I got that shit in my head right now.
And great, good rewind to the opening credits, because that is very worthy of a mention. Is the opening song there, the opening theme to In the Mouth of Madness. Now, we get flashbacks. Apparently, John Trent is a slick, hotshot, very good at what he does. Insurance investigator. He's the guy that like busts the mob for fraud and shit like that.
He busts Peter Jason.
That brings me to my next creepy visual of this movie. Sweaty Peter Jason. He's very sweaty.
That's a trope that they really used to effect in the 90s. Let's get Peter Jason in a movie. Yeah, let's get him sweaty. And once again, John Carpenter tried this trick and failed in Ghosts of Mars. Because Peter Jason was in that, and he was sweaty as shit.
Do you have the sweaty Peter Jason fleshlight in your dildo trunk?
No, I didn't know that was a thing until right now, Bobby. But it
Someone
sounds
meme
like
that,
you
please.
do.
Sweaty Peter Jason fleshlight.
Can you just ask Austin to draw that out for us?
Please don't, Austin.
Yeah, so Peter Jason's in it, and he's great. He's just a wonderful human being. He's sweaty. They make fleshlights of him, but he's an insurance fraudster. And so after this, he cracks this guy. The guy's sweating like a pig, and he cracks him and realizes he's a fraud. So he's out for coffee with the guy that hired him, and the guy's just telling him how great he is. Oh, you're the best insurance adjuster in the world. I wish you worked for me, and all this bluesy hooty ha. And all of a sudden, there's a guy in the bookstore across the way.
Creepy visual number 3. You have axe wielding psychopath.
Right, because you got the camera. You're looking at John Trent and his buddy sitting there, and behind them is a pane of glass crossing the street. So out the other side of the street, you see the guy walking, and they don't see him, and it's just a beautifully shot fucking scene. So the guy, crazy axe murderer, walks up, smashes through the window with the axe, gets up on the table. He looks at John Trent and says, "Do you read Sutter Kane?" And then starts trying to swing an axe at him. Tell us about his eyes, Bobby. What about his eyes?
They are like they have spooky Hot Topic contacts in.
It's like Hot Topic was at its prime in '94, and they had the exclusive contract with John Carpenter. No, they look like double pupil eyes. I've never seen a Hot Topic kid with double pupil eyes. Is that a thing?
That'd be cool if there was. Yeah, he has double pupils.
So he goes, and then they shoot him. Bang, bang, they shoot that guy. And then it turns out that like it was all for this job. So he got a job from Charlton Heston. Chuck Heston shows up.
Let me just jump to the, I guess, spoiler, but like the axe wielding psychopath was the agent of Sutter Kane, horror novelist Sutter Kane, right? And if you watch this without really trying to connect the dots, it's like, why would he happen to go after the guy that happens to be going to search for Sutter Kane, right?
Right.
And then you realize exactly why by the end of the movie.
So what's happened in the world at this point is John Trent has been hired to investigate the alleged disappearance of famous horror author Sutter Kane. If you imagine Stephen King, but more handsome because he's Jürgen Prock now. And
the themes of H.P. Lovecraft.
H.P. Lovecraft. Now, take a little aside. This movie, I've always loved Lovecraft, and I've read all of his little stories. And this is not a direct interpretation of any of Lovecraft's work, but it's
overtly homaging it, though.
It's totally in the wheelhouse of what makes H.P. Lovecraft so great, which is why this probably is my favorite Lovecraft movie, and it's not even a Lovecraft movie. You know,
cosmic horror, men going insane, some sort of no nonsense like science-y guy,
the
or
questioning of reality, you know, and the horror implications.
This movie does capture that in a lot of ways, Adam. So, which leads me to my next scary visual in this movie is 90s Charlton Heston, who hires him to search for the missing Sutter Kane because the next novel, the final novel in the series, that's kind of a congruence, a convergence of all the previous novels, right? Is due out, but he's gone missing. He's gone missing, and they don't have the final copy.
Yep.
And he's a cash cow. He's a cash cow.
Cow.
Sam Neill, being the cynic that he is kind of suspicious. He is an investigator, but he's like, I'm trying to figure out these people are putting me on. It feels like a publicity stunt, right?
Right.
But he's saying it feels like a publicity stunt, whereas like he just watched a man get murdered by a cop that was Kane's agent.
Like he didn't know it was Kane's agent until he's talking to Chuck Heston. But
But still, he jumps to the conclusion like, oh, this is just all for publicity. But you're like, yeah, but like you just saw a man get murdered in broad daylight outside of a fucking cafe.
Right.
Who tried to kill you with a axe, and he's just like, no, this is all just PR.
It's all bullshit. Yeah, I'd be kind of like, he seems very, very cynical. It's as if his character was supposed to be very, very cynical of everything.
Oh yes, I think that's true.
So wait a second. I got to ask a question. You said the next scene of terror was 1990s Charlton Heston. Is that scary?
Oh yeah, yeah. Really? Of course it is. It's not as scary as like.
I think he looked good for his age.
It's not as scary as like Planet of the Apes, Charlton Heston in the Tim Burton one.
Wait, he was in that?
Yeah, dude, he was one of the apes.
Oh wow, really?
He was the ape that teaches someone about guns.
Oh Jesus, I don't know. I haven't seen that piece of shit since it came out. I'm not going to.
Yeah, 90s Chuck Heston's in this one.
I'd rather watch Congo.
No, I'm just Josh, and I love Charlton Heston so much, and he's in this movie, which just makes it even better. I mean, it is a cameo, but it's like a pretty strong cameo.
It is.
They had him for like a good 4 hours.
He came back. There's another scene later in the movie too. They got to bring back. They got him back in later on. It's probably all filmed in the same day, if we're being honest. You know, you got Chuck Heston, you get him for one day. So he now has to go hunt down Sutter Kane, but he's not going alone. The company lady Linda, the quasi attractive mid-90s corporate gal who works for Chuck Heston and is an avid Sutter Kane reader, big fan.
Linda Stiles, played by Julie Carmen.
Yep. So she's going along with him. Now he's thinking this is all bullshit, and he's getting ready to go about his life. He starts walking home, sees signs on the walls for the Sutter Kane thing, starts tearing them apart, and then as he's walking, we enter the next creepy scene. Right, creepy visual is a cop just beating the shit out of some guy. Just
there's a pig-faced maniac cop in this movie.
And he's just beating the hell out of some poor dude. And there's like a bunch of homeless people standing around just watching.
You want some too, buddy?
Yeah, that's what he says. And so this creeps out Trent. Now he goes about his business, but he starts reading Sutter Kane.
But before he goes to read Sutter Kane, he has to go to the bookstore. And another creepy visual, he sees herpes mouth horror fiction fan.
Yeah.
Horror fiction fan with a herpes mouth, which I've been to a lot of horror cons, and they're out there, baby.
Are they? I'm saying, like, how would they get herpes? Are they like licking panties or something? Because I don't think they're getting laid.
Herpes mouth horror fiction. Dude, those people fuck. What are you talking about?
Do they? Okay. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. They're like Rennies with Chucky masks.
I don't know what any of that means.
Rennies with Chucky masks. That's all horror fans are.
What's a Rennie?
They like to fuck, Adam. A Rennie, a Renaissance Festival person. What are you, fucking not a nerd?
I guess not. Wait, so Rennies like to fuck?
Oh, yeah. They're all a bunch of like hippie swinger types. You didn't know this?
I didn't know this.
Yeah, they're like sexually active band geeks, as Mean Girls would put it. All grown up though. Yeah, dude, Rennie's and horror community folks definitely like to get down. I'll tell you that much.
Right. Nice. Okay. And so these are the Sutter Kane people do have herpes, is what you're saying. That's accurate.
Probably. I mean, some of them do, not all of them.
Okay. Fair enough. So
I do.
He gets the books from the creepy herp kid, and the creepy herp kid's like, he sees you, which is just very, intimidating.
You should start going up to strangers at bookstores and say that.
He sees you. And then just
play
away.
It straight and walk away, yeah.
That'd be
Tell
great.
him I say hi.
So then he's home and he's reading these books, right? He's reading these Sutter Kane books. He's like, it's just pulpy shit, but it's actually really well written. Like there's something to it, He's
starting to get to me.
It's starting to get to him. And so he has a nightmare where it's the guy, the cop, right, beating the bum again. But this time it turns to him and his face is just all mangled and gnarly and pig-shaped. And he says what's he say, Bobby? Has to say it. What's he say?
Want some of this too, buddy?
There he goes, just like that. Yeah, it's real great. And he like wakes from the dream and the pig man's like sitting there. It's like a dream within a dream. And then he wakes up again. Really good usage of that little pistachio that they like to throw in the movies sometimes.
A little nugget. Good nugget there.
And it's also a scene where there's the guy, the axe murderer guy standing there, and he's like surrounded by bums, and then all the bums start axe murdering him. Oh,
yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, and a lot of this was shot. This was a limited budget. It was like $10 million or so, and like a lot of these scenes, these aren't sets. Like that was shot in a Toronto alley. That cafe is a real cafe. The church that we'll talk about in a second is not a matte painting. It's actually a real Greek Orthodox church in some random place in like Toronto.
Fucking scary looking church, dude. They build churches like that for God. Because it seems like that kind of church seems like it'd be a Sutter Kane fucking church,
Fuck yeah, I go to Sutter Kane Church. But yeah, so a lot of this, as you're watching this movie, just keep in mind, it's like a lot of this was real locations.
Yeah, that's and for badass looking sake.
So let's fast forward a little bit and get on the road here with Julia Stiles and Alan Grant. Right?
Yeah. So they're hauling ass across the country.
He's going, there's a place called Hobbs End, right? We got to go to Hobbs End.
Let's get to how we get there. So Hobbs End is a place in the books. The whole storyline is like 7 books or whatever, and it's all about this horror in Hobbs End somewhere. So the covers for these books really do look fucking badass. I mean, the cover art that they used in the movie for the covers are totally awesome. Now, here's a cool thing I never noticed until I watched some video on YouTube. All of those covers of the books depict different scenes from the movie, right?
Correct. Yeah.
One of them shows him typing, like Sutter Kane typing. There's like demons behind him. One of them shows like a big maw. One of them shows John Trent running from a giant church. So
one of them shows the Happy Gilmore grandma as a tentacle monster. Well, what I did notice upon this latest viewing is like, yes, I've always noticed that, but I'm also like thinking, so in the Mouth of Madness is the convergence of all these stories in one location, because you have like, we'll talk about all the different facets of it, but what I'm saying is it's almost like a Stephen King Castle Rock thing, right?
Yeah.
Because Castle Rock was all the Stephen King stuff in one location, right? So the Hobbs End horror, that's why I said earlier, I don't know if they overtly mention it, but it's like, oh, this was like the final book where all of his stories kind of come together.
With Lovecraft, there's Miskatonic University and Arkham. Okay. There's a lot of shit that ties into
overlaps.
All Lovecraft's works.
So there's another Lovecraftian theme. And then all the books, do you have the book titles handy? They're all takes on Lovecraft stories.
They're all takes, they're all like one word off from Lovecraft titles.
Yeah, even in the Mouth of Madness is what?
At the Mountains of Madness?
Correct.
Which, Guillermo del Toro has been trying to make At the Mountains of Madness.
They should get Stuart Gordon to do that.
Stuart Gordon, thankfully, is fucking dead, so he can't do that. But
they could get him. They could get him back for that.
We'll
reanimate Stuart Gordon and make him come back and direct more H.P. Lovecraft for that adaptations.
Just so I can go mad. That would enter me into the Mouth of Madness. So they're driving, turns into a road trip. And while they're road tripping, You know, you get some. I mean, look, John Trent is a jokester. He's a fucking jokester.
Never throw chips at a driver, Adam.
never throw chips at a driver. He pulls out a honk horn and honks at her while she's sleeping just to be a dick. Classic
move. It's like, oh, you're finally up.
Oh, I love Sam Neill. He's so great.
Like if you could pull that off without a woman like getting really mad at you, like she likes you, like she wants to get down. Like she gets frustrated, but she's not like, let me over. That was fucked up. I want to go home. You know, she just throws chips at him.
But there was a job. She had a job to do, bro. She couldn't like punch him because he's fucking driving. You know, like what can you do?
Yeah, but I mean, if you're on a job with some guy you just met and he honks a horn at you while you're sleeping, and be like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure you threw chips at him. So what happens? What's creepy that happens on their road trip, Bobby?
Well, the next creepy vignette in this film is, okay, so let me just mention first off, Styles is driving at this point. It's nighttime. They're driving through New England, going through Vermont. Was it New Hampshire?
They're very lost.
They're lost in a cornfield of middle America, northeastern middle America, rural America. And they see creepy things like on the road, like Styles is like... just drives past a boy riding on a bicycle. Like in the middle of the night when there's no light anywhere, just the light from your headlights, that is pretty unsettling.
Well, the reason that they're going here is because they cut out pictures from the covers of all of his books and it formed a map into the one center. This town they're going to, that John Trent's convinced exists, doesn't exist on any maps. It's a fictitious place that Sutter Kane created for his books, but there's a map to it that they're now following because of the covers.
Thank you for setting me straight and not letting me jump the gun.
Hey, no problem.
And then Dr. Alan Grant's still asleep, and Julia Stiles is driving the Cadillac. It's a nice 90s Cadillac. I've always noticed that about this movie. There's a scene where she looks down, and there's like, it looks like she's in the clouds.
There's
like a green screen cloud thing. And she's kind of going a little nuts. And then she sees another bicyclist dressed exactly like the kid from earlier, but it looks like decrepit Mick Garris. So it looks like Mick Garris.
It's like I just directed Sleepwalkers.
And she hits Mick Garris with her car.
She's like, I fucking hate Sleepwalkers.
Straight up Ferris Bueller style.
And then she goes to the side of him, and he's at the ground. He's all crippled and crying. He's like, he won't let me out. He won't let me out.
There is something really creepy about like a young boy's voice coming out of an old, decrepit Mick Garris.
Yeah. You won't let me out.
Let me out. And then I always thought that it was really cool. I don't know if just the way he just gets up and gets back on his bike and like Dr. Alan Grant ran back to the car to get him a blanket or something.
Yeah,
he was like, let me get you a blanket. I'm like, bro, my spleen is bleeding out. I don't know if a blanket's going to help.
Well, here's what's creepy about that scene, right? So she's leaned down in front of him, and then she stands up to look at a windmill. And while she's looking at a windmill, like the guy should be laying in front of her stage left, right? So he's laying in front of her. But then the guy walks out from behind her stage right and smiles and rides off. Like he just came from a direction he wasn't even at. It's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, and the way he just kind of floats off into the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the way he rides the bike. I don't know if they were trying to make it look creepy, but it does look creepy. The way he rides that bike.
It really does. I didn't realize until I was watching it earlier how loud the sound effect is of the cards on his wheels too. It's like real fucking loud. Like the movie's playing, everything's quiet, and it's like
Oh yeah.
Fucking good. It's a well-made goddamn movie.
I'm going to cross off Mick Garris on a bike off my list.
Thank God.
So pick us up. They go through one of those classic New England Beetlejuice barn bridges.
Yeah, she goes through Beetlejuice barn bridge. But first, it's like she's just driving through darkness and there's flashing lights and like weird shit and there's no road beneath her. And she's like, what the fuck is going on? And then poof, she drives out of the other side of the Beetlejuice bridge that killed Alec Baldwin before he killed all those people. And and then there's she's in the town. Voila, it's a bright, beautiful day in Hobbs End.
And Dr. Alan Grant wakes up and he says, oh, you're fantastic. You found it. And they're like right outside the sign that says Hobbs End. But what struck me kind of queer about this scene, Adam, is that not a few hours earlier, Stiles had hit Mick Garris with her car in the middle of the night. And he still is like, well, I'm sleeping. I shouldn't drive. You got to keep driving. Like, if you just hit a man with your car, you'd be like, you know what? Why don't you fucking drive for a while?
He was tired, man. He'd already been driving all fucking. Listen, you just drove for 9 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she's driving for 13 minutes and she hits the dude
and almost murders Mick Garris.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. No, she's still driving. Just don't hit anybody. All right, like I've been driving for 9 hours.
This is America. We let women drive cars and possibly hit Mick Garris on a bike.
He was fine.
We're progressive.
He was fine. He walked away. He rode away.
He got what he deserved because of sleepwalkers.
His bike was fine too. I mean, his bike didn't even get damaged.
He got out of there.
Right.
He's lucky he survived sleepwalkers.
Better than he fucking deserved after that one. So anywho, they're in the town, and she's like, okay, we need to go over here, make a left here. And he's like, did you see a sign? She's like, no, it's all from the book. So she's read these books, and this entire town is everything that she's described, that is described in the Sutter Kane novels, right? Like,
right. And she's starting to put it together. However, it is revealed later on in the movie that she was one of the only people that read the whole book.
Yep. Well,
right?
She didn't read the whole book till the end. Till her last.
I guess you're right. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
you're right. Never mind. Forget everything I just said.
So
women can't drive, and then they end up in a town.
They go to this creepy old hotel with a nice little Happy Gilmore grandma lady there, but from the book, she's a character from the books, Miss Pickman. Pickman, which is also the name of Pickman's model from the H.P. Lovecraft there. But anyways, Mrs. Pickman, in her book, she chopped up her husband, right? And so, like, everything is in there, like she's in the book. Like, she's like, there's a painting behind you, and John Trent turns around, there's the painting. And he walks forward, and she's like, there's going to be a loose floorboard. And sure enough, there's a loose floorboard. And she's never been there. She's been saying the whole time, like, there's no way is this place real, right? Like, it doesn't exist. There is no Hobbs End. And now she's there. Now she's standing there. Now her reality of, this shit isn't real. What do you do? And that's what's great about this movie.
That starts to play with the whole, like, let's be inspired by reality to create like a fictional universe. So you have like the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, which was the inspiration for The Shining, right? Mm-hmm. Or you have just, the state of Maine and like small town Maine life with Kiefer Sutherland bullies and, evil clowns in the sewers because it's Maine. Like, that's all derivative from that location to Stephen King, fiction.
Wait,
so
we're already there are already clowns in the sewers in Maine?
I know. I was just talking shit about New England, but I'm just saying, like, it's kind of playing with that reality versus fiction stuff already, where it's like, well, at what point have we manifested this into reality through my works of fiction, or what came first, the chicken or the egg? Which they even allude to earlier when Vigo's like, I don't know what came first. The
that's not earlier. That was later.
No, later. I mean, you know what I mean. But you know what I'm trying to say.
It's
flirting with reality already.
That's the whole theme of this movie, though, right? Like, and when it's all said and done, and what's really happened, like, that is the whole theme of the movie. What's fucking real? Like, somebody's reality isn't somebody else's reality. What happens when a real person?
Reality is just what we tell each other it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Insane and insane could flip easily.
And that is an exact
Before
line.
You know it, you're in a padded cell, wondering what happened to the world, Adam.
And you're the only one left, and you're alone.
I mean, that sums up the entire thesis of the movie, is that line that Stiles said, I think.
While they're driving there. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. This movie is very well written. The script is great. Let's give credit to whoever wrote that script.
Let me ask you this, because you've read more Lovecraft than me, is this a blatant... I mean, there are obvious tongue-in-cheek references to Lovecraft, but like, do you feel like it leans a little bit too much on Lovecraft and derives a little bit too much from it?
Not at all, because it's a love letter.
It does it justice,
right? It definitely does it justice, and that's what I'm saying earlier. Out of all of the H.P. Lovecraft adaptations I've seen,
is it better than Stuart Gordon's Dagon?
Yes, it's better than Stuart Gordon's Reanimator. It's better than anything Stuart Gordon ever made.
Robot Jocks.
Yes, it's better than Robot Jocks. Wow. But this one, it's like, old. It gets the vibe of H.P. Lovecraft. The problem I've always had with adaptations of it is they're trying to directly translate what he wrote. You know what I mean?
And it ends up looking like a cheesy 80s schlock horror movie.
Right.
You don't experience the true, cosmic dread of H.P. Lovecraft. You're looking at the Dagon run around.
This has the vibe of H.P. Lovecraft. Like this gives the feeling, this movie gives the feeling that H.P. Lovecraft's writing gives, So that's what's great about it, because it is the existential terror of like, what the fuck is real? What is waiting just beyond our realms of perception, just waiting there to fucking pounce.
And I think one other theme of this movie that I don't feel like gets enough acknowledgement is, and I think I would argue that probably Lovecraft in a lot of ways is the same way, but again, you tell me, is the whole concept of free will. Like eventually when you start to realize you're in a fictional simulation from another, entity's creation, it's like, well, this has to be this way because he wrote me that way, right? So you're getting into like, the rift between reality and fiction versus like free will and like, well, this is what's going to happen just because this is how it was written, right?
So here's what's going on, right? Sutter Kane's this writer, and he's just a regular guy, writes his little stories.
Is he a regular guy?
Yeah. And then one day he starts hearing voices, and he starts writing out what the voices are saying. And the things that he's describing, somehow, as he's writing these out, is starting to form in reality. Right?
The old ones.
Right. So what's happening is this. The old ones are there. The old ones are real. The old ones don't have a lot of power anymore because nobody knows about them. Nobody talks about them. So Sutter Kane, this writer, writes these fantastical stories for a mainstream media that eats that shit up. And then all of a sudden, 18 languages and hundreds of millions of copies around the world, everybody knows about these old gods, right? It's back in the forefront of the mind. So with it just running rampant through people's subconscious, starts driving people insane, starts altering reality itself until we get to where we are in the movie, which is Sutter Kane's finishing his last book that only a few people have read, one of which fucking Crazy Axeman. The other one,
it's going to spread like the plague.
The other one, the hot editor chick. And then John Trent reads some of it. So John Trent is a character in the story. He fights the whole movie once he gets there that like, look, this is reality. We're here. And she's like, no, this is from the fucking book. And he's like, no, this is reality. And he's fighting with what's real and what isn't. Turns out John Trent is just a fucking character in the story. John Trent didn't exist before fucking Sutter Kane wrote him out into existence.
It's almost a like Philip K. Dick, like John Decker Blade Runner existential dilemma kind of thing.
No, it's not John. It's not Blade Runner. It's Lovecraft, man.
I'm not saying it's Blade Runner, Adam. I'm just saying
There's
it's
no
kind of
cars, Bobby. No
it
fucking
plays
cars
with it plays with that. It's like, well, reality is what we tell it ourselves it is. Reality is what I remember what it is. Like someone created me, or like, no, I am like an autonomous, entity on the earth in reality, whatever, Anyway, just shut the fuck up, Adam. Go play with your Peter Jason fleshlight.
But play with my Peter Jason fleshlight. It's in your dildo trunk, Bobby, not mine. So we got the cosmic horror monsters start popping up, right?
Whoa. Slow down. So Styles is trying to convince John Trent.
Capitan.
Styles is trying to convince John Trent of what exactly is going on. He's skeptical, but does understand that this is not normal. However, it feels still like a publicity stunt for to win a Sutter Kane lunchbox, which I'd love to have, by the way, if that was.
But he's supposed to be skeptical.
Yes, I know. Okay, I know. I'm just trying to get to the next moment of terror. Okay, they go to the big creepy Orthodox church that's outside the window because Styles is like, no, the church is right outside that window. No, it's coming from the east or whatever it is. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So then they're walking up to the church. They cut to a scene where they're walking up to the church. She's reading literal lines from H.P. Lovecraft, which is like supposed to be a Sutter Kane, passage from his books. And then we have another terrifying situation where we see demonic children from earlier that were chasing the dog when they first got into town, but this time their faces are covered in blood and the dog only has 3 legs.
Oh yeah, that happened. That happened.
What are you?
You're a mummy, and today is Mummy's Day.
Know what today is? Today is Mummy's Day. Now, I got to point this out, Adam. I noticed it on this viewing. I don't know if it was intentional. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it. But the ball that the creepy cannibal children kick over looks like the alien beach ball from Dark Star.
Well, okay. I didn't.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
Have you ever picked up on that?
No, I missed that one. Good.
It
good
looks
eye.
like the beach ball alien from Dark Star.
Good eye. Oh, there's another creepy scene you missed, where Vigo the Carpathian like comes up to the front of the Orthodox Church, and he's like, "Johnny, come out, Johnny boy. It's your father. Come on, Johnny." And the doors are open and it closes. Little blonde boy standing there. And the doors are open and closing. Well, bam, they open, and it's fucking Sutter Kane.
Played by Das Boots.
Jürgen Prochnow.
Jürgen Prochnow.
Yeah.
I was telling my wife that Jürgen Prochnow was in this movie, and she's like, wait, is that the guy that played Balky from Perfect Stranger? I was like, no, that's Bronson Pinchot.
Bronson Pinchot. Yeah. So, yeah.
Who do you think is a better actor, Bronson Pinchot or Jürgen Prochnow?
Jürgen Prochnow, dude. He was fucking Sutter Kane. He's Sutter Kane, man. I mean, look, Pinchot is good with the cocaine and True Romance, but he doesn't really hold up.
Yeah, I'd probably agree.
We got to keep. We're not talking about Bronson Pinchot. We're talking about all this terrifying elements. And what else you got to the list of the? Because we're wrapping this up. We're quick and dirty, Bobby.
Okay. Well, in this same scene, when Sutter Kane shows up at the creepy Orthodox church, he has Mr. Burns released hounds. He has hounds released by Mr. Burns.
Release the hounds.
We get a moment with the kinky Happy Gilmore grandma, having her husband handcuffed to her ankle, which is nice. And then eventually she does actually morph into a weird Lovecraftian nightmare tentacle monster in that like greenhouse thing outside of the Hobbs End Horror or whatever.
It is really lovely, the amount of weird nightmarish tentacle monsters they made for this.
Yes, and rumor has it that was just a puppet because the suit didn't look good on her. That was just weird. They just thought it was too kinky for the Happy Gilmore Ace Ventura grandma. So they made a puppet miniature of that for those shots. So that's
that's
fun.
good. I mean, hey, at least they
I honestly think I'm not saying that it was an intentional horror. It wasn't meant to induce a sense of dread or horror necessarily, but I don't know his name, but the guy that does play Vigo the Carpathian in this movie, that weird like Austrian or German guy.
He was a pimp.
He was a pimp in the real life. Yes. Do you know his name off the top of your head?
Von Habsburg or some shit. It was Wilhelm von Homburg.
Yeah.
Wilhelm von Homburg.
He's like, I don't think a guy that looks like that would ever be cast in a movie nowadays.
I don't see how a guy that looks like that was cast as a loving father in this. You know what I mean?
If your dad looked like Vigo the Carpathian?
Johnny boy, come to me, Johnny. Fucking great.
Just get out.
He was he started as a wrestler, in the 50s in Germany.
About right. So we got Vigo the Carpathian, and then this is not that long after Ghostbusters 2, so people knew, like, holy shit, that's Vigo. Like, I've never seen him in anything else.
He's in Die Hard, bro.
Is he?
Fuck yeah, bro.
Who does he play in Die Hard?
Who do you think he plays in Die Hard? He's one of the fucking bad guy terrorist guys. It's got Vigo the Carpathian. It's got Genghis. Oh, fuck you, Bobby.
I think you just made that up, Adam.
Yeah, I just made that up. Right.
Don't force Vigo in movies. Like he's has his resume and it is what it is,
He's got a rocket launcher. He's one of the guys with a rocket launcher.
I'm gonna have to fucking fact check that one.
Yeah, go on fucking Google right now, Adam.
Okay, so things start unraveling from here. We're in this nightmare fuel, fucking diverse, scary location with Sam Neill starting to question his own sanity. Stiles has left the fucking reservation. She's like read the book. She's good to go. She goes and she approaches the creepy Orthodox church and finds inside the place where in a traditional sane world, I guess, the location where you would go to worship the traditional God is the God, the creator of this universe, Sutter Kane.
Yeah, his gods are way cooler than the ones.
She hasn't finished the book yet. Let me actually make that clear.
No, the book's still being written. Like all this is, and everything that he is writing is transpiring in the film, right? So what Sutter Kane is still writing by the end of the movie is what's happening in the movie up to that point. I mean, that's what's insane about this. So like he's just typing okay, and then Styles like read the book and lost her mind even further, and then she spider walked upside down with her head turned twisted sideways.
Oh, how did we even forget about that?
We didn't. I remembered it still. How did you?
Oh yeah, it's coming up. It's coming up. I have it written down. Very agile. A real life contortionist was used for that scene.
It was like in the Tool. I remember Tool. I saw them live. They had some people doing that on stage. I think it was
like the extra
Styles. It was Styles from In the Mouth of Madness. So yeah. There's a lot of creepy shit. No, the other scary shit is like when he's trying to leave and he just can't leave. Like he's just trapped. He's trapped.
This goes back to I've said it the last 2 episodes, just something about being trapped somewhere and in this case, it's a mob of deranged townsfolk in which evil has overtaken their children and turned them into cannibals. And,
dog eaters.
Yeah, dog eating cannibals or dog. Yeah. I'm sure they eat people too.
I mean, probably when you get in front of them.
And the scene in the bar where he's approaching Vigo the Carpathian. And he's just kind of laying it out there like, here's what it is. Like, just get the fuck out of here while you still can. And then he just kills himself with a shotgun right there.
It was written this way. So fucking good, man. And I mean, that's the thing about this movie. Like, the whole concept behind it of what's going on, it's not what you see in an average movie, an average horror movie. That some writer is writing reality as it's happening and it's opening a doorway for giant, slimy, ancient creatures to come through.
You really can't pin a specific conventional genre, like subgenre of horror on this other than Lovecraftian cosmic horror. It's nothing else but that, right? And eventually we do come, I'm going to use the word again, we do come to the crescendo of the film in which we actually do get to see
the horrors.
A bunch of horrible tentacle-faced monsters chasing Sam Neill down a hallway. Down a spooky hallway.
Down a spooky hallway of madness. From the fictional world back to the real world is where he's going. And like when it opens, the portal itself is Sutter Kane grabbing his own face and just ripping it like pieces of paper, like he's just
beautiful
tearing through reality. And then John Trent's mission, his job, is to take this manuscript from the world, this fictitious Hobbs End where he's at, back to the real world and deliver the manuscript. He's chased by these monsters. All of a sudden he jumps out and he's sitting in a road. And who's on the road? Some little kid on a bike. It's Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker, throwing out newspapers and directs him to the highway. And so he just drops this manuscript.
Do you think he's better as the paper boy or as Darth Vader?
Definitely the paper boy. He was believable as the paper boy. You know what, though? In that new Ahsoka show, he was in there and he was pretty goddamn good as Anakin and Vader.
We're gonna do a little exercise here, Adam. Ready?
Oh God, we're doing Star Wars. What?
No, you're gonna send us home. You're gonna keep it mildly entertaining. Tell us about the rest of this movie. Make it fun. Make it informative. And I'm gonna go use have a tinkle.
You're gonna go piss. Okay. So Sam Neill on his way back to reality. He's got this manuscript in his hand. He doesn't want it because he knows if he delivers it to the people, it's going to go out for the world to see. It's going to end the minds of mankind as we know it. So he just ditches this fucking thing. He just drops it in the road, runs off, gets a hotel room, wakes up the next morning, goes to the door, the front, the office, and they have the manuscript there waiting for him. And he's freaking out because it's just following him around. He finally gets back to Chuck Heston's office. But while he's on the way, he's on a bus and he's like sleeping. And he wakes up and Sutter Kane sitting next to him. He's like, "Did I ever tell you my favorite color is blue?" And then Sam Neill wakes up and everything is blue. The whole world is blue. He starts screaming. He starts freaking out. I mean, he's just taunting with him that reality is not what it used to be because now the door is open. He gets to Chuck Heston's office. And Chuck Heston's like, "That Linda Skiles, she doesn't even exist. And on top of that, you gave me this manuscript weeks ago. I've had this for months. It's already out.
I like how he just has accepted it at this point. He's just like, oh, well, she must have been written out of the story. That's easy. That's an easy one. Hit me hard with a harder one.
He finally accepted that reality is fucked. He was trying to hold on to it so hard.
You're definitely red flagging people in the real world that you're a fucking crazy person at this point.
Oh, for sure. But the points are, it's already happened. Like, the damage has already been done because the books were already leading people down this path. It was weakening the walls between the old ones. And now they've all read In the Mouth of Madness. They read the last book. They've all lost their mind. They've all gone crazy Axeman.
The book is reality and reality is the book. There never was a question to that.
Right.
Other than in Sam Neill's own mind, because it was all written that way by Sutter Kane.
Mm-hmm. And so it turns out that Sam Neill was just a fictitious character the whole time. But he wakes up, and so we go back to the beginning. He's back in his cell, his cross-covered cell, because he killed somebody. He went axe murder. He totally went all axe murderer on people, just like the "Do you read Sutter Kane" guy did.
They were trying to stop the end of the world. They were trying to stop the festering insanity that was about to spread like the plague through all the population.
Exactly.
And here's okay. Let me just go on a tangent for a second here. What about people that don't read, Adam?
Well, for the people that don't read, everyone else around them that does read has already killed them. But also, no, I think I know what you're saying here. For those of them that don't read, Bobby, they made a movie. There's a movie.
They made a movie. Okay, so let me ask you this.
Blockbuster movie.
Just in, the lifespan of a property, intellectual property, fiction property. Mm-hmm. You have a book that comes out, it's very popular, it gets movie rights to it, despite the fact that it's clear that this book is driving people insane to murder everyone who reads it. They're still going to go ahead and make the movie.
Right. The movie's still going to be made. Yes.
Do you think that's a product of the greed in having to make the movie, or do you think that most of the population still hasn't come to realize that it's the books doing the whole time that's creating this world of psychopaths that's murdering people?
Well, I think the point is, at this point, so many people have already read the books, right? They've already lost their minds and they're already going.
It's too late, so you might as well make a buck.
But also because so many people have read the books, the old gods have all the power. So people aren't just going crazy. They're fucking turning into monsters. They're turning into tentacle monsters like old lady Pickman does.
So what you're saying is the producers of the movie may be even insane at this point where they're like, well, we must spread the word of Sutter Kane via the box office.
So after a bloody night of crazy horrors in the hallways, Sam Neill awakens and finds the door to his cell unlocked. So he walks out into the world. The hospital is in shambles. There's strange claw marks, blood stains. Everything is torn asunder. He walks down the roads. There's no cars. There's things.
It's very beginning of 28 Days Later.
He walks in. And as he's walking into a town, he sees a movie theater. And it's playing in the theater, In the Mouth of Madness, starring John Trent. So he walks inside. He walks in front of the screen. Thankfully, it's still showing, apparently nonstop. And he starts eating popcorn as he watches himself on the screen, projecting back the movie that we just saw to us. So as he's watching this, he's just laughing. He's laughing hysterically because he's seeing it all. It's all a big fucking joke. He is just a fucking fictional character. And as he's laughing, he starts crying as he's laughing, and then it ends.
Beautiful ending. It's not only a film within a film, it is a book within a film within a book, right?
With a movie.
I mean, it's not a real book, but
yeah.
But it does play with that meta thing where it's like, well, what is, you don't it's not, you're not supposed to figure it out, I don't think. I mean, it's kind of intentionally complicated because it's all just it's not complicated. The simple explanation is this is just all how it was written. It was all how it was written by Sutter Kane.
So if you think about it, there's certain things that happen, right? Like, what's her face says, hey, when she explains what's going to happen, like reality is going to flip, or reality could flip, and you'd end up alone in an insane asylum. That's exactly what happens, right? Like Sutter Kane said, I was writing these books, but there was something else telling me what to do, and we've torn the fabric of reality down, and they're fucking coming through.
I mean, and that what you just said, that's not completely unheard of. There's a lot of famous actors or even songwriters that'll be like, I don't even remember writing this down. I just feel like, my hand started moving, I think
just came out of me.
Like Stairway to Heaven was supposedly like channeled from some weird
Stairway to
source.
Steven.
Yeah. Things like that. There's all kinds of people describe it as the muse a lot of times, where like the creativity just comes and uses you as a channel, and you're not consciously really writing this down. It's just appearing on the pages via your hand or your typewriter or whatever.
Sure.
You're just a conduit. You're just a conduit avatar.
But he knew. Sutter Kane knew. He's like, no, I'm not just a conduit. This is the fucking old gods taking over the universe right now. And he was happy to help in that transaction.
Sure.
The thing is, like, this is such an excellent fucking movie. And it's the same argument. I mean, I don't even want to say it because I say it every time we talk about a John Carpenter movie.
It's better than Prince of Darkness.
No, I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say he makes such good, great fucking movies, but they'll be surrounded by shit. Well,
I think it is worth mentioning. We should have mentioned it a lot earlier, but the writer of this movie was Michael DeLuca, and I would say that he kind of blew his load in as far as his writing credits go. This is easily the best, but because he's also known for the next year Stallone starring Judge Dredd.
Oh wow.
And one of the least celebrated Nightmare on Elm Street films, Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare.
Oh wow! So he wrote some shitty ones.
Oh, and he also wrote the short for The Lawnmower Man.
No, that's not the same thing.
That's not the same thing. That's probably one of his better. That's probably one of his better works.
Well, I mean, I'll say this: whatever, Mr. Michael DeLuca. Like, maybe you haven't written all the best movies, but you wrote a banger with this one, dude. So God bless you. And out of the best of the '90s, like this one it's right up at the top. It's right up at the cream of the crop.
One of the things we can take away from this conversation is if you're struggling to write a good script to make a good movie, just derive from H.P. Lovecraft, and it's like you got a pretty good odds there, I think.
Yeah, just open your mind.
Look at Stuart Gordon.
To the possibility of infinite darkness and let it encompass your soul and right through you. And then that way you can help, open the world and the doorway
Summon
for
the
old
gods
to come in. Yeah. Definitely
Excellent.
Do that.
Well, I don't know if I've ever said it on a personal level. Honestly, In the Mouth of Madness is my favorite John Carpenter movie.
Wow, that's bold. I don't know if I could say that, but it's fucking up there. I don't know if you could say you like it more than you like Big Trouble in Little China or The Thing.
A lot of it's very autobiographical and anecdotal. The reasons why I love this movie so much, because it has had such a impact on my trajectory as a movie fan.
It changed the course of history, Bobby. It brought this podcast.
It really did. Those dudes at the Blockbuster, like, seriously are the reason that we're doing this podcast.
Thank you, Bulk. Thank you, Skull. Thank you, Michael DeLuca. You've done us all good service. Drink.
Thank you, John Carpenter, Sam Neill, Charlton Heston, the gal that played Julia Stiles.
Thanks, Vigo the Carpathian. You pimp.
Vigo the Carpathian. After that, for John Carpenter, it is it's a rough road.
I mean, listen, after that, we did get Escape from LA, which is a fun jaunt.
Which is the best romp. What we can say about post In the Mouth of Madness, John Carpenter.
Yeah, because everything else after that is just not everything other than that. No, you know what though? I would say that John Carpenter's Cigarette Burns was pretty fucking badass.
Oh yeah, was that after? I guess it would be after In the Mouth of Madness.
That was in like 2005.
God, that shit was so hard to find for the longest time.
What is it on now? I want to rewatch that shit.
Well, I have it on DVD on the Masters of Horror collection or whatever.
Did you ever watch the one that was like kind of a sequel to it? Fuck, what was it called?
To Cigarette Burns?
No. To the Masters of Horror.
I don't know what was it called.
Oh, hold on. I have to Google it because there was like a sequel series too that had a different name, but it had a bunch of the same directors.
I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know. Maybe I have seen some of those. But speaking of like unsung 90s that deserves an honorable mention, the Masters of Horror anthology series is fucking awesome. Was that
Fear
the 90s
itself.
or was that early 2000s?
It was mid 2000s. Fear itself was another one that was Mick Garris put that together. Say what you will about Mick Garris. Yeah.
Which one was Takashi Miike's imprint?
That was on Masters of Horror. There's some John Landis and Stuart Gordon, Larry.
Yeah, I think the Dare Woman was John Landis, and
no, I'm talking about that Fear itself thing. So there's.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
So check that out too. So yeah,
sadly, one of my least favorite Masters of Horror is from one of my favorite directors, Larry Cohen. He did the Hitchhiker one with Fairuza Balk, which is not a great episode of that show.
You know what? It's Halloween tomorrow. I'm gonna start rewatching that. I haven't watched that in years and years and years. Masters of Horror.
I think I might do the same thing because it's good bite-sized quality horror. Masters of Horror.
Ooh, it's
if you
on
like
Tubi.
In the Mouth of Madness, if you like John Carpenter, if you like all the classic horror directors, check out Masters of Horror. It's hours and hours and hours of pretty high quality shit.
All right, and that's it. It's the Not For Everyone podcast. Drink Fox and Sons coffee. Happy Halloween.
Hopefully this gets out by Halloween or at least the day after.
I believe in you, Bobby. Quick and dirty.